The Braves stay undefeated tonight, but they do it without a win. The Bravos and the Chatham Anglers play to a 3-3 tie tonight at Doran Park. Welcome to a Postgame Tomahawk Talk. Calvin Christoforo, Reeves Jackson, and Daniel Coates. And Daniel, the scene leaving the ballpark tonight is a lot more, I guess, happier than you would think, especially going into that ninth inning. The Braves are trailing 3-2 for the last 3 or 4 innings, but they were able to scratch across a run in the ninth inning. What does that have to say about the resiliency of this team?
Well, it has to say that they're never going to quit. And even when the bats aren't going like they weren't, there was only 5 hits really going into the latter half of the 8th and 9th inning for their opportunities at the plate. It just goes to show that they're going to find ways. They found ways against the Wareham Gatemen back in the last home game where they were on base about 8 times with walks. So, and even when the bats aren't hot, they know how to create offensive threats on the base path. Was really impressed by how they battled back in the first actual disparity of they were actually trailing for the first time in the entirety of the season, which is crazy to think about. So I was really happy to see that, and just goes to show that the pitching, I think, is going to be our safety net for this season. The bats, when they're hot, they're really hot, but Coach Adoba showing why he's one of the best pitchers on this staff, as well as Bennett coming in from Oklahoma. So it's a draw. It's good. We're still undefeated, but happy to get out of here 3-3 instead of 3-2.
I completely agree with you. And Daniel, I think the pitching this year has been great. So I'm not going to ask Reeves about that. I'm going to go with hitting tonight, Reeves. This lineup just really seemed to get nothing going. It looked like they got 2 runs in the first 2 innings, and to me it kind of looked like they got complacent. What can this lineup do, going forward to kind of rewrite the ship from tonight's game?
I think it's going to be a little more consistent day in and day out as far as each at-bat and their approach to the plate. Because sometimes it seems like the approach to the plate is you're locked in, they're focused, and then the next at-bat, they're striking out on 3 pitches. So I think the approach to the plate is a little more consistent, but for the most part, they've been excellent all year. And a guy today that I was very impressed with was Zach Agnos. He had a triple and then scored on the wild pitch, and then had that big single and then ended up scoring what proved to be the game-tying run on the base hit from Braylon Wimmer. And how about Braylon Wimmer with a big hit, pinch hit opportunity? That's hard to do coming in cold off of the bench. And obviously Joe Lampe bounced out to the force out at third. But I think you have to look at the glass half full. You didn't pick up your 7th win, but you also didn't pick up your first loss of the season. And that's big, especially when I was telling Daniel in our wrap-up on the air that this was a game that the bats didn't seem like they were going to be able to scratch enough to potentially even tie this game. But the pitching staff, as Daniel mentioned, kept them in it. And Bourne should be happy going into the off day with a 6-0-1 record.
It kind of feels like the Braves stole a point tonight's game, because Chatham really had control all night long. But Daniel, there was 2 plays back-to-back defensively that were excellent catches. We've seen the Braves make a couple of excellent catches so far this season, but it's ridiculous that Colby Thomas made back-to-back sliding catches, some of the best catches we've seen all season.
Yeah. And it made for a good call too, because I told Reeves off the air, like, Colby Thomas, I love him in left field. Right after that diving catch, he gets back up, diving catch again. So I thought I was in a dream. It was unbelievable, stellar work in left field, and you just want to see him get a little bit more productive at the plate offensively. But he proves why he should be out here. He's a staple in left field. Agnos in him is a defensive juggernaut that's not going anywhere. So really impressive stuff from the Mercer kid.
Yeah, especially if those 2 guys can consistently get the bat going. We talked about Zach Agnos tonight, 2 for 4 with a triple. But if they can get offensively the way they're playing defense, they're going to be a scary tandem in the middle of this Braves lineup. But Reeves, for you, last question. Where do the Braves go from here? We talked about how, their bats need to improve a little bit, but the off day tomorrow, the pitchers are going to get a rest. This pitching staff, I think, is going to be, stellar, especially the rest of this week with that off day tomorrow. I think strikeouts are a little bit too much of a problem tonight. The Braves struck out a lot. Is that a problem they need to fix?
It definitely is, and I think there's times during the game, I mentioned yesterday in the broadcast at Katuitt, it was 4 consecutive games in which the Braves offense had a string of at least 4 consecutive strikeouts in a row in the lineup. And I think that just points to what I was talking about when you asked me that last question, just being locked in every plate appearance, because obviously in left field with Colby Thomas, he's been a little bit inconsistent at the plate, but you're going to need to get him going, because you're going to have Caden Wallace out there for a good majority of the season, but you're going to need times where Colby Thomas has got to step in, and there's going to be days off when Colby Thomas and Caden Wallace switch places, even with Kyler Fedko, which Wallace or Colby Thomas will give Fedko a day off. I think Joe Lampe will be a staple in center, will get a day off here and there, but just being a little more consistent at the plate. I think, like Daniel mentioned, the pitching staff is going to be consistent all year. For the most part, And it just depends whether the offense explodes, whether they stay quiet and can muster enough runs to get across when the pitching staff does indeed limit the opponent to just 3 runs.
Yeah, and even just to finish it off, it was one of those games where there were some plays where you just knew it wasn't the right night. Kyler Fedko caught in between second and third twice. He also had an issue with the sun, which in his defense was brutal tonight. Colby Thomas flew out twice to first base. Joe Lampe couldn't get it done, had to rely on Napchik coming at that 2 position. So it wasn't their day, but they got out without putting one in the loss column. So I would say it's a win as far as the circumstance that was presented today at Doran Park.
I completely agree with you. It wasn't the Braves' night, and they don't end the winning streak. I guess they do end the winning streak. They don't end the undefeated.
Yeah, they're still undefeated.
They're still
but in the
undefeated.
winning streak.
0 in the loss
still 0 in the
They're
loss
not on
column.
pace to go 39-0 anymore.
0.
Let's just say that. The Braves and Anglers escape with a 3-3 tie tonight at Doran Park. It's an off day tomorrow before the Bravos are back here at Doran Park on Wednesday. But until then, as always, go Braves.